Hey guys, and in this video we're going to cover how to safely and properly do hand conditioning to strengthen your fists, to strengthen your striking, and to do it safely without injury. Hand conditioning has been part of my martial arts journey from day one. From very early on in both the arts of Tang Soo Do and in Shotokan, as well as in Taekwondo, I have been doing hand conditioning. The traditional Makiwara is a post, a wooden post, normally wrapped with straw, and you see videos of past masters striking this post repeatedly, often to the point of developing very callous knuckles, almost to the point of deformity, which I don't believe is necessary. I don't believe conditioning needs to be done to this extent, where this amount of callus and stuff is necessary. I do believe that hand conditioning is a necessity because you need to train your body. If you're serious about the martial arts, you need to train your body and your fists to be able to absorb the impact of striking something solid. And if you do this in a safe manner, when you strike your opponent, you're lessening the chances of injuring your fist and your weapons, as well as increasing the effectiveness of your strikes, because it's a more solid weapon. When it makes contact, it is a harder, more dense weapon because your bones are getting denser by your conditioning. But there is a safe way to do it. I personally have this wall-mounted Makiwara, which is a dense foam pad attached to a wooden board, and it's screwed to this cinder block wall. It's not as giving and forgiving as a wooden post. You're not striking this full force. You're not developing your knockout punch with this. You're just conditioning your knuckles. By striking this surface and adding resistance and pressure on your knuckles, you're making them more dense. You're making the bones more dense and making them stronger. You're also strengthening the muscles in your wrist, the tendons, the ligaments, through your forearm, your wrist, your hand, and your knuckles, making your fist a more powerful weapon. I have this Makiwara, which I strike here, and I also have this 3-section bag. This one here is filled with sand. This one moves. It's hanging from 2 hooks so that it can rebound and it moves. It gives a little bit. This one here doesn't give at all. It's solid. There is another one that I will be getting to probably replace this because I've pretty much wore out this padding in here that has slits, and it does give a little bit more. When I have that, I'll probably do another video on that. Okay, let's begin with the Makiwara. When I strike the Makiwara, yes, you can strike it with your front hand if you wanted to. You can strike it with your lead hand like you're throwing a jab. But the Makiwara is normally positioned so that it's right at about abdominal height, because you're throwing your power shot. You want to be able to put everything in line so that your punch stays in line. You're hitting something that's solid, remember. This isn't giving. You're going to be absorbing the shock from this strike. You're not throwing it with your front hand. You want to focus on throwing it with your backhand, your power shot. You're going to, using proper body mechanics, you're going to push off with that back foot, turning your hips, and you're striking. And you're striking it, hitting it solid. Your hand stays relaxed all the way up until the point of impact when you clench it. You're not clenching your fist the whole time and just keeping it clenched and striking it and striking it. Your hand stays relaxed until the point of impact and you strike it. When I do my conditioning, I divide the Makiwara up just like this 3-section bag. I have the upper level, the mid-level, and the lower level. When I do my strikes, I still use the front 2 knuckles. The first one, I keep it vertical. I strike it on a vertical plane, a little bit cocked, not like this, and I'm still using the front 2 knuckles. I'll strike it this way. The midsection is like the solar plexus. I will turn it all the way over and strike it like this. And on the bottom section, I will come up this way. Again, focusing on the two knuckles here, I will work on driving that upwards into the gut. So I still mentally break this down, even though it's a smaller pad, break this down into upper, middle, and lower targets. So from here, I'll have my hand back, either from here or from here, and strike. And again, I'm not striking it with all my power, but I'm striking it hard enough. You start out striking softly so you can bear it, and I'm striking it solid. From here, then I move to this middle section, turning it all the way over, just like the traditional punch. Turning it all the way over and striking. And the lower level, I'm turning it from underneath on a 45 and striking it just like if I was digging in to the solar plexus from here on kind of an upward, not an upward angle. I'm not coming up. I'm still coming straight in, but I'm doing it from keeping this in line. I'm doing it from here, bringing it straight in. That's how we do the Makiwara, training the first two knuckles. And that is how I do my first two knuckles. I use the Makiwara, I do the 3 levels, 50 each side. So that's 150 strikes per side. And I do that daily, or at minimum 3 times a week. If I end up skinning my knuckles, because this is a canvas surface, if I end up skinning my knuckles and they bleed or anything, I will stop and I will wait until they heal enough to be able to do it again. You don't want to keep doing it until the point that your knuckles get swollen, they're bleeding. I have seen videos and I've seen photos in forums where people are showing their knuckles. Obviously they're damaged and probably need to go get x-rayed. And they're asking if they should continue striking the Makiwara. Use common sense. You know, there's nothing, you know, thinking you're tough by continuing to hit something and damaging your hands makes no sense, you know. And I'm telling you, as you get older, if you keep damaging your hands to that point, there's a good chance you're going to end up having arthritis and problems later on in life. So use your head when you're doing this. If you damage it and you hit it too hard one day, you bruise your knuckle, it's tender to the touch, give it a couple days, let it rest, put some ice on it, and once it heals, go back and start again lightly. Start out striking it lightly and then slowly increase your power as you strike. You're conditioning. You're not trying to break anything. You're not trying to develop your power punch. You're conditioning your knuckles, and it takes time. You start out slow and repetitive. You hit it, and then you slowly build up how hard you hit it. But you never hit these things full force. All you're doing is conditioning. You're not trying to develop knockout power here. Okay, developing my vertical punch, I use the 3-section bag. Again, this is filled with sand. It can be filled with peas. It can be filled with lead shot. It can be filled with anything. Sand is plenty enough. The sand, because it sits in here and it settles, gets dense. It also gives you a more giving surface than even this. So by striking with the vertical fist, it's the same thing. I will strike, but this, I'm able to strike it harder, and it gives. It's hanging from these hooks. You can see it moves. These, I'm striking, and I'm, again, keeping it loose all the way up until the point of impact. This is where I tighten. And I'm not having my thumb up here. I have it folded, just loose, up until I strike. Same thing here. I will do all 3 levels. I will strike here, doing the upper level. The stomach, And then again, I will come in here and strike using the bottom 3 knuckles, strike the lower level. Striking below, just like if I'm digging in to the abdomen, lower abdomen. I'm gonna hit it, striking this way, center, and upper. Using the bottom 3 knuckles, vertical punch. I can also do it on here, but I would rather do it this way because I'm looking for that shock. I want more of a shock value. I can't see that here. This is solid. Here, I can see if this thing bounces back. My stronger and faster I hit, it's gonna hit and bounce back. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want to hit it and do not have nothing happen. I want it to bounce back. I want it to recoil. So by doing this, again, conditioning. I'm not working, yes, it will increase your punching power, but I'm working on conditioning these knuckles, making the bones more dense, making this a more solid link, solid chain from the shoulder all the way down to the knuckle. I'm focusing on strengthening this whole chain. That's what the hand conditioning does. And it's conditioning. It's not power building. It's not sitting there and coming up with indestructible fists, all right? Because you still need manual dexterity. You know, yes, this is just one weapon. You have open hand things. You're gonna need to grab and be able to use these fingers. And if you overdo it on this, you can end up impacting your ability to grab. You know, you can damage your knuckles and you're not gonna have the strength in your hands and all kinds of other problems. So just don't overdo it, all right? That's it for hand conditioning. It is a necessity. It should be done, especially if you're focusing on self-defense, because you're not gonna go around with hand wraps on. You're not gonna go around with gloves on. You need to be able to withstand the hitting a solid object. Your opponent, your attacker, is gonna be a solid object. He's gonna be more giving than this because when you strike him, he's gonna move. So you can start out here, but again, when you're hitting something this solid, you don't wanna hit it that hard. But that's the reason that we do hand conditioning. That's why I feel it's necessary, but not to the point of these traditional masters you see where they're got the excessive calluses and kind of gross looking. So that's it. If you're interested in getting any of these, I'll put the link to this Makiwara and this bag here in the notes below in case you're interested in getting these for your home. They are inexpensive. They're great tools to have in your conditioning. If for some reason you can't afford it, you don't have a place to put it, maybe you're in an apartment and you can't mess up the walls, whatever, at the bare minimum, you want to do knuckle push-ups on the floor, starting out focusing on the 2 knuckles here. Even if you start out on your knees doing your push-ups, start out on a carpeted surface, slowly move to a tile floor or a concrete floor and do your knuckle push-ups. You're still gonna get the benefit. It may take a little bit longer because there's no impact, but you are still putting your knuckles in this whole chain from here all the way up to your shoulder under pressure. And by pushing against a solid object, you're putting them under pressure. You're still gonna develop more dense bone. Your bones will get denser and you still will be able to develop, condition your hands, but it just will maybe take a little bit longer. But those are your options, either striking or knuckle push-ups, but you should incorporate them in your training. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. The more thumbs up it gets, the more people see it. If you have any questions or comments, let me know if you do any hand conditioning, and if so, what you do to condition your fists. Right now, we're just talking fists, but you know, if you do other things as well, go ahead and let me know. Put them in the comments below. I'd really love to hear about it. And if you have any questions, again, put them in the comments below. And in the next video, we will talk about the tiger claw, which is seen a lot in movies, Kung Fu theater movies. And a lot of times people think it's kind of a joke, you know, animal styles. But to me, the tiger claw is a devastating weapon and awesome for self-defense when done properly. So in the next video, we'll talk about the tiger claw and we will see you then.